Welcome everyone. My name is Donovan Steinberg and I am Channel Account Manager at Odoo. I am in charge of part of our network of partners, mainly in Belgium, France and Luxembourg. Today's webinar topic is the gap analysis and everything you should know about the gap analysis as a partner. Let's start straight ahead with our presentation of today. Here we go. Okay, so today's topics will be, first of all, what is a gap analysis? I will give you a short explanation, a short definition of what a gap analysis is, or even though I'm pretty sure most of you already know what it is. And I will give you also the main objective you should try to achieve through a gap analysis. And then we will discuss about what should I perform, why should I perform a gap analysis from the partner and the client point of view. You will also see that mostly all of these, the reason why you should do a gap analysis are as well valuable for the partner and the client at the same time. These answers will also lead us then to the how should I sell a gap analysis. You will see that the advantages of doing a gap analysis actually results into the arguments you can use with your clients in order to sell a gap analysis. And then finally, we'll go through the different points and topics that are important in order to perform a gap analysis. And we'll take a look at the gap analysis template that we are sharing with you on our partner knowledge base. Okay, let's dive right into it. What is a gap analysis? Well, basically, the definition of a gap analysis is the comparison of an actual performance with potential or desired performance, meaning that it is actually the analysis of the gap between the needs of the client and the standard of Odoo. You are actually going to perform an interview, a discussion with your client in order to understand their needs and to compare it with what is already existing in Odoo. You need to understand, can I actually achieve my client needs with what is available, or do I actually really need to develop or configure Odoo in order to answer the needs? That is the point of the gap analysis. Now, what are the objectives of a gap analysis? Well, first of all, as you understood it, it is to have a better understanding of the project. You want actually to have more than just a big picture of what they are looking for. The reason is that you are gonna have to ask every single functionality they are looking for in their solution and what they want to achieve through Odoo. You're gonna go actually through all the different apps and by app that we have and actually discuss about all the business processes they have actually within their company, going from the sales department until the manufacturing department, going through eventually the marketing and so on. It is actually important for you to understand every critical level of the functionality they are looking for. This is what you're gonna do through the all discussions you will have with them. It is trying to understand if the functionality they are explaining you in, let's say, sales, it is actually something really important for their business processes. Is it key in their businesses, or is it something just on the side, something that they could have, but is not especially necessary for them to achieve their daily objectives? With the gap analysis, you will also be able to identify and secure the scope of the project. This is something really important because a reason for a project to actually fail are often because the scope of the project weren't really actually identified. And during the development phase or during actually the implementation phase, the client actually noticed that they also wanted something else and that, oh, we never discussed about this topic, but it is actually something important that we should add in our project. And I need it especially to manage my sales. And these are the kind of actually add-ons during a project that will make you fail the project. Reason why a gap analysis helps you identifying and securing the complete scope of the project. Also, by discussing every aspect and every functionality that they are looking for into Odoo, you will notice that there are some nice to have functionality and some must have functionality. This is important. We come back to the critical level of every opportunity. And during actually the fact that you are going to note every one of their needs down, we'll also have to note with them and ask them to say, is it something nice to have or critical, and so a must-have that you absolutely need to keep. Knowing this will help you budgeting the project. You will be able to say, okay, here we have a functionality that they absolutely need to have in their system. Therefore, we can budget it. And if this is something that they don't really need it, we can eventually drop it. We will see that a bit later in our template, that you can give actually the opportunity to your client to decide whether they want to drop or keep some functionalities. Budgeting, meaning that you will be able to tell your client that how much man days it will take to develop every single functionality, eventually to forecast some buffers if you need it to have a proper budgeting. With that budget and with the time needed in man days to do every development, you will be able to time as well and to prepare the phases planning of your project as well. Check for the availabilities of your resources, giving a better idea to your client of when you will be able to start a project and to finish it for them, depending on every single phase, and they will be able to have a better understanding of when they can expect every different development or different functionalities to be available for them. And then the gap analysis is supposed to bring you, of course, to the first step of a successful project in comparison with a project that is working more on a budget, a fixed budget system, where actually sales will have just make a vague summary of what he could expect the project to be and give actually random price to the client, and actually being usually the first step of a failure of a project, because we are skipping into the project to a lot of more different problems. Now, why should I perform a gap analysis? First of all, from a partner and a client point of view, there are some evident points that we will discuss. The first of it is to minimize the risk and the frustration. The risk, of course, are more on the partner side, but of course on the client side as well in terms of budget. You want to avoid any change request. Reason why, let's try to actually discover all the different needs of your client. It is important to discuss everything they are used to do in their daily life, every single point they are looking for. It will help you actually list them down, every single one of them, and to make sure that there won't be any other surprise during the project. These are called change requests, when the client could say, oh, look, we didn't discuss this, and I want to add this to our program. But if you made a gap analysis before and you listed down everything they asked, you could say to your client, look, this is what you asked for, and what you're asking me now is something additional. So this is, you could eventually easier explain to your client that this should be something that is going to be added to the program. It will represent more cost and of course more time to be implemented. Avoid taking risks by doing gap analysis. This is the first reason why you should do one. Also, of course, you will minimize the frustration for your client on the other side. It says that if you just don't do any gap analysis and you come to your client and say, okay, I understood that you want to implement Odoo to manage your sales pipe, to manage your lead generations and marketing and so on. In my opinion, it will represent that much. And you say 100,000 euro, for instance, even though you don't commit to 100,000 euro, you give them an idea already, and then you will have some frustration on their side because you didn't actually did a depth analysis of their need, and you will add more and more things to the project, and then we'll end up with 170,000 euro in the end. So really important to avoid this risk and frustration for both of the sides. And then, of course, identify the nice to have and must have, because what you want to do is, of course, understand what they are looking for. A lot of time when you will perform a gap analysis, the client will explain you, okay, so I'm used to do things like this, and I used to have 2 clicks only to get my information and this kind of stuff. You have to understand what is really important and what is core to their business and what is a side aspect of their business. Because in the end, you will tell them, look, Odoo can do 90% of your needs by already now in the standards, and there are 10% that we will eventually have to develop because we looked at it, there is no way we can do it right now. Are these things important to you or not? This will depend on the, of course, the budget, the timing of the project, and so on. You also have to challenge the customer about what they are using to do. The change managing aspect is also something very important in the gap analysis. The client is there to explain you who is supposed to do what, and you are there to explain them how they will do it in Odoo. But not only, you should also challenge them and tell them, okay, look, you are used to do things like this way, but in Odoo it doesn't exist. So we could eventually do it in Odoo and actually achieving the same results, but if we do it in another way. Would it be something that could be possible to do for you? Don't hesitate to challenge them in order to stay the more possible close to the standard of Odoo. We know that a project that is the closest possible to Odoo represents a cheaper, a smaller project, a small time of implementation, less complexity in the maintenance, in the migrations, and so on. So less frustration, of course, for the client. Then changing the partner is good. Looking for workaround helps you reducing budget, like I said. And of course, on the partner side, showing that you have a really good understanding of their project and their needs, and also showing professionalism by going into deep analysis will actually help you lock the customer. Often when a customer goes through these different steps and interviewing and seeing that you understand them, it will help them actually convince them that you are the right one to understand and help them bring this project to a good end. So this gap analysis is already a good step to actually lock the customer. All these aspects actually bring us to how should I sell a gap analysis? Well, from customers, you will often have two kinds of reaction that comes often back. First one is, why should I pay to get a proposal? I thought this was pre-sales activity, and now I just want to have an offer from you, but I already have to pay to get it. And also a second reaction could be your competitors like SAP or Oracle. They didn't ask me to pay to get a proposal. They just gave me one. So what should I answer to this client? Well, Mr. the client, you have to understand that there is a difference between the offer you received from my competitors and the one you will receive from Odoo. Firstly, there is an in-depth understanding of your needs and a tailor-made offer on our side, while they made actually a vague offer based on the first discussions you have. They didn't really went into the understanding of each details you need to work perfectly in your environment. They actually just computed a few numbers in this calculator they have, and it generated a generic offer actually, but it's actually not really covering every needs you have, and you can be sure that you will receive some surprises after that, and there will be some aspects added to the offer in the end, while we go directly into the understanding and explain you what you will get. My competitors, they decided of the rules of the game. They decided of what you will get in the offer, while I'm proposing you to go through your different business processes and to discuss what you need, and I will tell you how we can achieve it, and you can, with my offer, understand and know perfectly where you go with that. Also, another aspect that you have to understand, Mr. Client, is that this pre-analysis is actually part of a project. Usually in a project, you have the same recurrent phases that are coming. The first one is the pre-analysis, of course, and then we have the analysis, and then of course the development phase and implementation phase. My competitors are actually suggesting you to pay before the pre-analysis phase, not allowing you not to understand where you go and not perfectly understand what you're going for actually. While I'm actually proposing you to pay after this first pre-analysis, allowing you to know exactly what you're signing for. And in both situations, my competitors or our situation, you will have to pay for this analysis that will be done actually afterwards you sign with my competitors. We do it differently. We do actually it smarter and in a more professional way. So, how should I perform a gap analysis? This is actually here the biggest and important aspect of our presentation today. You can actually find a document on our partner knowledge base that is actually a template of how you should structure your gap analysis with the client and the question you should ask. There are a lot of examples and there are also a lot of explanation telling you how to do it. But we go quickly through the different steps that you should take into account to do a good gap analysis. First of all, you should prepare your gap analysis, of course. It is important, like I said, to identify the main scope and the secondary scope. Focus on the main aspects of the core business of your client, because if you focus with your client, you let them explain you a lot of secondary aspects of their job, you will lose a lot of time, and actually you won't be even able to show them that maybe on the main aspects of their business, Odoo is answering to 90% of it, and that you can do the most of it because you focused on small things that are less important for them. You can actually submit basic questions in advance to your client, meaning that you often have recurring questions that come back, that are actually open questions that you can submit them, so they can you can win a lot of time, and also it helps them actually identifying the speakers that you will have to interview during your gap analysis. Indeed, if you know that the client wants to implement the system to manage their sales project, the marketing and the manufacturing, let's say, you know that usually you will have to speak with line managers, which are the sales manager, marketing manager, and manufacturing managers, but because they have a main overview about their department and the system and where they want to go. But not only, you also want to speak with some key users. These key users are the ones working directly with the system in the department concerned by our implementation. These are people that are going to use the system in another way that the manager will eventually use it. They will be able to tell you, here I need a button to do this kind of action quickly. These are information that the manager won't be especially able to give you directly. It is important to say that we perform a gap analysis on site, on premise with the client. It is way easier to have them straight in with you in the same room to discuss about it. We really don't recommend to do it with Skype or over the phone. It makes it longer, more difficult, and less efficient. You can always announce the timing of the gap analysis, and you can actually budget it to your client by saying that it is in general 0.5 day per person that is going to be interviewed, and you will also need 2 additional days for the back office work when you come back to your office and you will do all the analysis and prepare these results for your clients. Usually when I perform my gap analysis, I follow 3 different steps with each person I interview. I always start with an open discussion, asking them how they perform in their job, asking them what kind of task they are doing, how they do it. I try not to focus too much on the legacy system they have, because they will actually try always to explain you how they do it in their previous system, and we are actually not trying to replicate exactly what they did before. We are trying to replace it actually within Odoo with what Odoo can propose, and eventually, if it's about something that we cannot reproduce, then try to adapt it in Odoo a bit more the way they were using to do it. But that's important to really try to understand the purposes of their tasks and what they're trying to achieve, instead of exactly understand what they used to do. Every time they explain me a functionality they need or something they need to do in their job, I then decide to show them with Odoo how it looks like. I do them a small demo, showing them, here, look, that's something we already have in Odoo, or that's how it would look like in Odoo if we were doing the same. Could it be something that is suitable for you? Is it corresponding with what you're expecting? And this way you can already try to find out solution on what you can propose them later on, and see if there could be already some gap between what they expect and they absolutely need to do and what Odoo can show them. In the end, you will always try to show them the analysis and what it will look like, and I will show you afterward with a template, in order for them to understand what they can expect from you. And it also creates trust, showing them that you will identify some kind of difficulties, the amount of days will be represented this way, and that's how we're gonna budgetize the project and so on. So don't forget to use open question, like I said. Don't forget to challenge the customers. Use the gap analysis template like I'm gonna now show you. Okay, let's move on to the gap analysis template. Here we go. This is actually an Excel template, an Excel file that you can find on our partner knowledge base. And as you can see, we first have actually here an instructions page giving you basically the big steps that you have to follow, what you can expect, that you can, the different steps that you should follow to fill in this document. If you forget at any time, you can refer to it and to see what are the main topics and main points that I should add in my document in order for it to be complete and efficient. You can then also see with my mouse here that there are different tabs here under in this document. These tabs are actually representing the different departments of the company that you will need. Let's take, for instance, the sales department. As you can see here, we first have a column with the numbers of the different functionalities we're gonna list with the client. The keep and drop control, that is in the end gonna be the tool for the client to let you know, okay, this is a functionality we want to keep, and this is a functionality we won't keep. We're gonna drop it because it's too complicated to implement, or in the end we notice that we don't really need it in our business processes. Try to be as more detailed possible in the description of the functionality. It is important to actually, as you can see here, describe, manage sales order status based on status, manufacturing order, DO, PO, and so on, change estimated and expected date of arrival, cannot cancel SO or SO line item of if MO is in progress without permission, sales cannot edit SO lines, and so on and so on. As you can see, we go way more in the details than a regular salesperson would be able to describe from a discussion with a client. This is important in order for you to identify and secure the entire scope, to make sure that you won't have any surprise after that, and that you show the client that you understand them very well. It will help you have a good understanding of the granularity of their business processes and the complexity of their job. Every single time you will list a functionality with your client, you will also ask your client to give it a critical level. We are used to use 1 to 4 numbers, but you could eventually change it your way. This is important because in the end, it will help you identify the nice to have and the must have functionalities in the system. Always note down who from the interviewed person is telling you this. And then on the right side of the page, here we go, we have actually the solutions within Odoo to answer these functionalities. Is it something already existing? Then good. Always type down the mapping of how you do it in Odoo. If you need any work or configuration to do it, then you will have to write in numbers in terms of days, and also typing the level of effort that it represents to configure Odoo, to adapt it to their needs. You have functional analysis here, meaning that these are the easy configuration that you can do with the standard of Odoo. Then you have the technical analysis. These are a bit more technical configuration that you can do without doing any development. I'm talking about, for instance, studio or changing a small aspect in the debug mode and so on. And then you of course have the development where for the functionalities where you couldn't find any workaround and so on. Okay, you can do this every single time for all the different departments that are concerned by our gap analysis. As you can see, this is a lot. When you show this to your client, often he will be a bit panicked and say, "Oh, it's a lot. I'm sure we need all this," but you have to explain that being really precise and having all the details makes actually the estimation and the budget that you will give them more accurate, and will help them actually to be sure where they're going and to take the right decisions in the end. And then the last steps here is the results. As you can see, it gives you actually a few tables explaining you the gap frequency grid first, with all, you can see a list of the different department and the amount of work that it would represent to adapt it to all the functionality we've listed so far, with the level of complexity, the implementation efforts, and so on. And then we have here under the development efforts per category. And as you can see here again, we have the list of every department we listed with the amount of work and the amount of money all these efforts will represent. The light green one represents everything that is actually in the standard of Odoo, while the a bit darker green one represents the functional configuration you will need to do. A bit more green one are the technical configuration you will need to do to adapt it, and the red one, of course, are the development that you will need to do in order to adapt the system to their needs. Of course, you can see that, for instance, in the accounts receivable department, Odoo is, for instance, here completely fitted for their needs. This could be actually something that helps you discuss with the partner, where are we going to start with our pilots? In which department should we actually first Odoo out, try Odoo out, in order to see if it's a good fit? Always take something where there is the most compatibility and not development, because for a pilot you want to avoid development, of course. And then you have here the gap chart, which is actually really interesting. It gives you actually an idea of where the different opportunities they described you are standing on an axis of critically level, so importance for the client compared to their core business, and the implementation effort that you will need to do in order to make it available in Odoo for them. We want to avoid actually all the functionality that are actually here with a lower level of critical level, meaning that they are not really important, they are more nice to have for the client, but are actually representing a lot of implementation effort, meaning more money, more time, and more complexity to maintain on the longer term. You always can give actually 3 choices to the client regarding this functionality. They can either keep it if if they think it's actually something important, even though it's something we'll have to pay and it will take a lot of time to implement, meaning that it will maybe gain a bit of critical level by discussing with the client. You can either propose them to drop it if it's not that important, or to try to find a workaround and really say, okay, look here, if you want to implement it, it will represent a lot of days to develop it, and we could eventually achieve the same results, but to do it another way in Odoo. Would that be something that fits with your businesses? And they will let you know if it's all right or not. And the idea is to bring all these functionalities from here to here, and to have important functionalities that are actually easy to implement, the closest possible to the standard of Odoo. And finally, you have the time and cost estimation of your project, with all the functional analysis, the technical analysis, and development that are actually resumed here, with the man days that are actually based on the amount that you are used to charge per man days. Of course, you have the different type of profiles that you can adapt. Is it a developer? Is it an analyst, a project management, and so on. The deployment phase is also important to add. The training, the support, maintenance, and as you can see, also you can add the Odoo Enterprise licenses to your calculation, and it helps giving you your customer an idea of what they can expect. When you will analyze analyze different functionality that a customer wants to find back in their system, and that you come back to your office to check for solutions for your client. Always try to give at least three solutions that are answering to its functionality. So 3 ways to do it in Odoo. It can be small changes, but you see, try to find other workarounds, and you start presenting actually the worst case scenario, and actually they can choose for easier solutions, but that are representing less development. Is always better for them. And of course, don't show solution where you are sure already that they won't pick it up, because it's something way too heavy and then won't take it. So this is giving you an idea of what is a gap analysis, why it is important for you to perform this gap analysis, avoiding any risks, avoiding any frustration on your side and on the client side, showing your professionalism, showing that you understand them very well. It also helps you being better than your competition that has a less better understanding of their needs, and that will just actually give them a random price and generate frustration behind it. Use this tool and this template to collect and gather the needs, and to see if there is anything missing in their description. Always remember to challenge your clients. The idea is not just to gather it, but to see if they could not eventually work on a better way, and if they cannot adapt their business processes to Odoo. And then of course, remember to show different solutions to your client, and to be always solution oriented, and to show them the result with this template. Thanks a lot for your attention and for this webinar about the gap analysis. We'll now have a quick look at the question you asked. Is there anything we can ask? Okay. You can find back the slides of the presentation. Indeed, they will be available on our website. You also have all the explanation about how to perform the gap analysis on our partner knowledge base, as well as this template that you can reuse as well for your own purposes. I think it is also important to add something. You can do the gap analysis on your side, but Odoo can also help you doing it, of course. As you know, we have a system of partner success pack, allowing you to have access to Odoo consultants, and that they can perform the gap analysis for you if you absolutely want it. Meaning that we can send one of our consultants to gather the needs of your clients, but it will be on premise, meaning that you will also have to add to the cost the traject and the hotel of the consultant, of course. And you can also, if you prefer, perform the gathering of the needs and the understanding of the project yourself, and then send us this document. But then of course we have to rely on the fact that we have a good result from our side, and that we can do it with this. Otherwise we'll have to do some back and forth with the information you provide us, and we can then do the analysis part and looking for solution on our side, and then submit you the document with the analysis we did on our side. This is also something we could eventually do. So again, this template is available on our partner knowledge base. If you go on your partner portal, you will see on my account that you have on your partner dashboard that you have a code to access the partner knowledge base. And if you take a look at it, you will find back all these documents available for you. I will take a last question. Could you explain more precisely the notion of effort? Thanks. Okay, so if we go back here, for instance, you will see that is something that you have actually yourself to determine. Every time you will have actually a functionality that is described by one of your customer, you will have to identify the way you could eventually do it to answer this need in Odoo. And if it's not possible to do it and that you need to do some configuration, you can already note down the amount of effort you do. Usually here again we work with a scale of 1 to 4. It depends on what you can expect of the amount of work you can do. Is it a difficult aspect that you will have, because you know that you will have to look for an answer, you don't already have the answer, that's something that isn't easy? Or is it you know that it is something you know how to do it, it's not done already, you will have to do the configuration, but you know already that you kind of know the way you will have to go through to solve this issue. So this is something for you to actually give some weight to the development that you will do, and the amount of work it will actually represent in the end in the budgeting of this project. Okay, I see there is no questions anymore. Thanks a lot for your participation. I hope it was useful for you, it helped you a lot. Don't forget that all these documents are available on our partner knowledge base. And if you have any other questions regarding this, do not hesitate to take contact with your partner account manager. I wish you an excellent day and goodbye. Bye-bye.